My name's Michael Laurent, and Catherine, my partner, and I have been facilitating this event. And it's been quite a journey, and I guess what really prompted us to do this is we attended the last Red Blanket gathering on Bruny Island in Tasmania, and for us it was a very profound experience. So once we left, we decided to put up our hands to organise the next one. And part of that reason was because when we left there we felt a little bit incomplete. We had to leave early, and as we did, we had to go down this very long driveway of several kilometres, and 2 crows escorted us all the way out. So to us that was a very clear indication that there was yet more to come. Well, it's been a very long process. It's almost a year in the making, and one of the highlights for us of this, or at least one of the major characteristics, is that everything's been so changeable with it. Nothing has stayed the same. The dynamics keep shifting, and we simply have to adapt to that. So we're controlling this from the rear, if that's a way of putting it.
What we found a very difficult task is that it's not described in any manuals how to organize an Indigenous gathering. There are a lot of manuals that have been written about how to organize festivals in a traditional way. This is not one of those. For applying for grants, for support money, people want confirmation of Aboriginality. They want confirmation that the elders will be there. They want letters of recommendation, support, various things that all these government and philanthropic organizations require. Now, with a gathering with Indigenous people, we cannot obtain a lot of that information and documentation because Indigenous people, unlike others, they live in the now. They don't know if they're going to come or if they're not going to come. They don't register in advance. They don't confirm. We don't know on the day whether they're going to be there or not. So to try to organize and plan infrastructure for a totally unknown number of people is very difficult. And it requires basically intuition and a sort of a feeling about it rather than a rational decision-making process. And that's been very difficult for us. Besides, in addition to that, we have to have faith that people will show up on the day. Because up to the last moment, we weren't quite sure if anyone would show up at all, if 100 people showed up, or 1,000, or any of that. So it's pretty much, walking blindly with this whole process. And that's something that we have to live and experience. It's a process, not an outcome. And a lot of the gatherings, festivals, and conferences and things like that are very outcome-based. This is process-based throughout the gathering. Planning, as Michael said, is shifted and changed so many times, and we have to adapt with that and go with the flow rather than try to impose some sort of logical planning with particular steps based on a rational organization procedure. We have received some donations of money from participants that are here at the gathering. In addition, what we've had to do is to actually ask for support in kind from a lot of people, and some have come to us spontaneously to offer their help free of charge. This whole gathering would not be taking place if we hadn't received in-kind support from various people in various areas: the food, the documentation, also to some extent the infrastructure with the tents and everything else have been graciously donated in part or completely by various groups, individuals. Without that, this would not be happening. A lot of it has been creative thinking. How can we actually make this happen? How can we bring into this being without money? We've had to be very creative on how to do this without cash in other ways. And that's the creative process, which has been very difficult, but also amazingly enriching experience, because it has shown that we can make all this happen without that dependency on money.
G'day, I'm Joy Bonner. I'm a descendant from Gari, which is known as Fraser Island. This festivity that's held here for the 4 days, we brought our language group called the Yanga Baranga Barangam students, which also are involved in our music, which is Daba Wara Ware. From my point of view, talking here today is to give an emphasis on what we as visitors to this country pay respects to the traditional owners from the north and the south, the Waka and the Gubbi Gubbi people. So from my point of view, I'd like to say a big thank you to those people that have gone before us, and from talking from my heart, there's been some misunderstanding about some of our elders that couldn't come in, but it was all worked out. So I think this gathering is a special event. It's bringing back what used to happen with our people, how they came from all around the different parts of the country, from far as you got the Grain people from Bundaberg, the Gubbi Gubbi people from Gympie, the Waka Waka Cherbourg area. You've also got people from over the border, which I'm still trying to study, but overall I think it's a wonderful event, but there just needs to be more acknowledgement to for other elders that they were the lineage of their people that used to come here, be respected, which is our way and our law, our traditional way.
But one of the interesting aspects of this has been also what we've called the Great Elder Hunt. And we're not familiar with the culture and all of the protocols and the lineages. So we went to great pains to make sure that the right people were approached, the right people were brought here, and it was never our intention to miss anybody out. So if there are people out there who felt they should have come, we wish they had have, because we didn't know about them. But from what we can see here, the people that need to be here are here, and this message will go out to all the others. This gathering, they're talking. They're here and they're talking and they're having a good time.
And one thing that we've noticed too is that it's not only limited to the gathering here. There are a lot of people and Indigenous elders in their communities that are talking about this gathering. They, for their own reasons, and we don't need to know, have decided not to come physically here. But we know from having heard from various people that there's been a huge amount of discussions and conversations and work happening behind the scenes. So it's already a success. Even before this gathering takes place, it's already a success. People are sharing and talking and resolving their differences behind the scene. So the gathering is not just one event at one particular time. It's a process that happens the moment we start talking and organizing and planning. And all of this is part of the gathering.
That's very straightforward. The purpose of this gathering was to bring people together, particularly people who haven't been able to come together for a number of reasons for so many, many years. So a number of the tribes, they're all represented here, but it's also not just a question of how do we learn to live together anymore. It's a question of how do we grow together from here. It's not enough to just live together. We need to go beyond that.
He comes a drawing about you're on bended knees, and I'm begging you please.
And this is where we're bringing the past into the present and hopefully move on into the future. That's what these gatherings do. They create a link, like a timeline between what's happened in the past, what's happening in the moment, and what will happen in the future.
And one of the ways that has been linked is that ashes from other gatherings have been placed into the sacred fires here to unite all of those gatherings and future ones to come.
we're all one family, and we've called this gathering One Heartbeat because the same blood runs through all of our veins. I mean, no matter what the color is on the outside, on the inside our hearts are similar, and we're all connected. So if we can see beyond the color of the skin, it's all one family.
Well, where we go from here is frankly still a question mark. Now that we have broken the ice, so to speak, then more possibilities are available. And frankly, it's now up to the elders as well to decide where to take this. So if they decide to have more gatherings here, that's entirely up to them.
Yeah, what we still feel is really important is for this sort of event gathering to continue to take place in more places, not just here, but everywhere where it's possible to do that. People need to share, need to talk, need to exchange. This is the way we will move into the new reality that we're all creating, really.
So we can look forward to more of these?
I hope so.
I hope we can build up to, in 2009, one of the elders here is attempting to get 100,000 people together in Melbourne to come together in this way. So we still have a bit of time. Let's see how we get on with that.
It's been real good experience for us here. And they enjoyed ourselves. They looked after us well here. And some are leaving now, leaving us now. And we, starting to feel that the festival's just about over. When anyone leaves, it sort of leaves empty feeling, and you don't feel like carrying on now. So yeah, I'm ready to go. I'll be going tomorrow. And it's been very good.
I came here because I was invited by a friend that's been to one before a long time ago. And I'm interested in gatherings where we can have peace, everyone living together. And the way the world is going, we've got to fix it up. We've got to get together and fix it up. God needs us. That's right. God lives in each one of us.
And one thing I did learn is we're not Robinson Crusoe. There's a lot in the same boat, other nations. We've met Alaskans here, we met Indians, we met Canadians, Maori people here. They all got the same story as what we have here. Their land and their country's in trouble. And that's what will probably bring us all together.
Yep. It's all over the world, this problem.
Yes, all over the world, yes.
We're all in one boat.
All in one boat. And that's where native title, people think that giving us our land back is going to hurt the country. It's not. Through native title, we've got a say for our national parks and everything. If we get our native title approval, then we've got a fair bit of say how our land should be run. And then we can help the people that want to look after this land, like the environmentalists, these sort of people, the park rangers. We give them power. We'll give them the power. They'll get the power through us to look after this place and do something about it and stop the destruction.
The way the energy works and the way the gathering happens is that there's no structure, there's no events, there's no particular time frame for this. Once the traditional owners of the land have welcomed all the guests and the overseas guests as well, and done the welcome to country address and possibly a welcoming song, once that is done, then the space is made available for anyone to share who wishes to share in whatever way, be it song, say a dance, words of wisdom, or just silence, just in their presence, whichever way they want to do that. It's very fluid, and the beauty of it is because it's fluid, the one thing unfolds into another thing and unfolds into another thing in a spontaneous way. It's not artificial. It's very, all the steps are linked with each other, and that's the magic and the beauty of such gatherings.
I'm in the Bunya Mountains. It's really great to be here. One thing that I've really got out of being here is the willingness of people to share their wisdom from a heart space, from a space which they're not expecting anything in return, and being conscious and aware that to see people that need input. So for example, yesterday when I was needing some input, someone was just aware enough to just see that and just came up to me and said, "Oh, do you want to talk?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so the interactions like that where wisdom is passed down to people, there's an openness and a sharing here and a caringness.
One thing that's just happened is that the fire had actually gone out, and the Aboriginal elders didn't feel that it was appropriate to come down to the fire anymore because everything was finished with it. It had been put out, that was it. So they asked us how long had the fire been on for, and we told them 2 days, and they said, "Ah yes, that represents 200 years, probably one day each 100 years." So it was needed to work out what we were going to do from that point on, and we moved the fire to the other fire area, and it came together with the discussions from all of us as to where we go from here.
I've been cooking for all different walks of life, and it's been great to share something to the people. It helps me a lot to contact with other people from all different tribes from around the globe, and it's good, and I feel stronger, and I'm getting there.
Yeah, the gatherings are a fun place to learn about another cultures, and brings in more insights into living, and it's wonderful to hear the teachings from the elders here and to be part of the community in spending time in dance, song, and listening to stories, which is really good.
As you mentioned, Michael, about history in the making, what happened at this gathering is very unusual in that when traditionally it's the senior elder man that lights the fire, the sacred fire for the gathering, as I understand it. And this time when the elders woke up in the morning, there was a particular smell of roses which told them that the goddess, the feminine energy, was present. And what was decided after much discussion with the elders between themselves is that a female was to be at the lighting of the sacred fire together with a man. And so that happened, and there was a young woman that agreed to be there, to stand by the male senior elder and light the fire. Now, what this symbolically means here is that the fire used to belong to the women, and the women have transferred or given or offered the fire to the men, and it is now time for the men to hand it back to the women. And so symbolically it means that the women are receiving the fire back, and it's up to them to guide us further with it in whichever way unfolds.
My name's Freedom Tamatoa Matiti, and I'm here at the Red Blanket Gathering in Bunya Mountains. And I think it's important that we have these gatherings, although our children, we need to show them the old ways, because without, even though these old people, they had a lot of knowledge that upstairs there that we need to gain to survive in this world. And at the same time, by saying that, we need to encourage our kids so that they don't forget this knowledge, and sometimes it can be challenging, eh, bro?
My name's Susan Dean, and I'm up here at the Bunya Mountains, and I was invited up here with Maleny. And I think it's great to meet a lot of different peoples of different culture and races. And I'm really sad is that I was happy that people were talking and that about a lot of issues and that, but I think the next gathering they should have is a lot of workshops, cook-ups, artefacts making, activities for the kids as well. So the knowledge is passed on not only by people speaking around the fire and that, they have hands-on things as well to teach our younger ones that coming up.
The things with the protocol for these gatherings is that nothing is normally recorded, particularly nothing around the sacred fire, because that's the sharing of wisdom, it's people being in a vulnerable space. So it's inappropriate to document anything that's occurring there. However, the elders did say to us that they felt this was history in the making, and therefore they needed documentation of the event in a more general way, perhaps with interviews with various people, just simply nothing around the sacred fire.
This is our ancestors' country, and we come here for Bunya nuts, to have a Bunya nuts festival, and it's been a good day.
We usually bring the kids every year, you know, for the day, and usually it's one of the kids' birthday, and we have the birthday party here. They like
the animals,
the kangaroos and the parrots all around. Yeah.
So have you enjoyed being here, meeting all the other people?
Yeah. There's a lot of people. Yeah.
From all different cultures, on different countries. It's very good to mix, you know, different cultures. It's very good.
Yeah. So you think this festival is a good thing?
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
And there's going to be more of it. We're going to have more of it. We're going to have plenty of it, man, going all around. We're going to keep this going. We're going to get something back. We want a part of this country from the elders from around here. We need something to keep our families going here. We want something for all tribes and families and people all from this area to come in and be part of this and share it. And any Indigenous people.
Hi, my name is Duncan Daniel, and I am from the Waka Waka clan and the Gaibo, which is on the Darling Downs, and I am a descendant of the people of the Bunya Mountain. Through my ancestors, I have connection to this mountain, and I have been given the name a few years back as Gudi Thalu, which is Aboriginal name for brown eagle hawk. Had the opportunity to rekindle the past, and I'd like to see that this gathering will continue on from here, like among our own Aboriginal people, so that they could, you know, after the festival, that we could also meet together and I suppose it's been happening in a past life with our ancestors, and we'd like to see this happen nearly every year, that all the Aboriginals who are connected to this mountain to come together and sit down and be as one. Been real good